Welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ BRAMLETT, back again with my super producer, Ryan Wall. And hey, pretty successful weekend out in LA, but could have gone a little better for us, but wanted to get your thoughts on how the weekend went, my man.
Yeah, it was kind of what I hoped for, at the very least. Obviously, like you predicted, we would have hoped that Arizona would have went 2-0. But 1-1, on the road in LA is still something to be proud of. I thought the game against USC was one of the team's most complete games in a very long time. To me, I mean, it was the first time in about a month or so that we saw the guy who should have won the Pac-12 Player of the Year, Arzuelas Tubelis, back in, his form. 25 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists on 11 for 17 shooting. We'll get into the awards later, AJ, but what'd you think about this game?
Yeah, no, I thought that against USC, I thought we played really well. I mean, I thought we had intensity from the jump. Obviously, Zoo was back, like you said, to his old self, scoring easy baskets, being aggressive. You could tell that his energy was just his motor was high on both ends of the court, not just the offensive side of the ball. And also, Courtney played a really good game, solid game as he has been pretty much the whole season. And we had good contributions from Kerr. I thought Kerr was really good in spots and ran a clean floor game. And then the guy that I'm sure we're going to talk about more, because of this weekend and the way that he's played, that we kind of talked about previewing at the beginning of the season, and that's coming to fruition now, is Kylan Boswell. Just the things that he was able to do in the USC game and also the UCLA game as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just I'm kind of just speechless at the impact that Kylan Boswell is making at such a young age. We always talk about how he's only 17, doesn't turn 18 until next season, but I mean, this guy, I've been thinking it for the past couple of weeks, but he's the true X factor for this team down the stretch. If Kylan Boswell can make this type of impact off the bench, while he's only playing about 20 minutes, I mean, AJ, first I wanted to ask you, do you think that he should be playing more, and he should be maybe taking minutes away from any of the other, guards or forwards in that lineup? Because it's really rare you see a guy this young making the impact he is. And secondly, I wanted to ask if, have you seen anybody make this type of, impact at such a young age during your time, at playing?
I mean, what he's doing is just incredible. And, we talked about this at the beginning of the season, that he had that type of potential, even though he's 17 years old. His maturity level and just his physical strength is something that's just not normal for a kid, a young man his age. So, but now it's just his game is evolving. I mean, he's had this game in him. He just had to learn how to be comfortable and let it out. You know what I mean? And now he's doing it out on the offensive end. He's not just taking open threes that are kicked to him. He's creating, he's making plays for other guys, and he's looking for a shot because he's probably, one of the top 2 shooters consistently on the team this year. And he's just he's an amazing player, man. He's fun to watch. He's exciting. He's explosive. And, it's just a start for him. And, I don't know. Jason Terry was young when he came into school. When we came in, I think he was 17 when he came in. Maybe Gilbert Arenas, I think, was young as well. His first year at Arizona, and what Gilbert did. But what Kylan's doing is just special, man. For especially in today's college basketball game, you just don't see it very often. And even the freshmen that do come in now, especially with the transfer portal and how college basketball is trending a lot older, for a guy his age to come in here and just play the way that he has, so poised, and be able to help a top 10 team late in the season in his first year is something he's just going to be able to grow upon next year and for the rest of this year. And he does deserve more minutes in time, and he's proven that. I think that especially when the team's struggling on offense, he's proven that he can provide some of that and get a bucket when we need to, and also hit big shots down the stretch. So I just love what I'm seeing from him, and it's going to be a fun ride to watch him the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's great company to be mentioned in the same sentence as the 2 guys you mentioned, Gilbert Arenas and JT. I mean, 2 of the best Wildcats we've seen throughout the years. But I mean, if you got Kirk Kriisa and Courtney Ramey combining for 6 for 13 from 3, and then you got Boswell's production, I mean, this team will be really tough to beat. I mean, I wanted to ask you about a guy who kind of was one of the best players for the first few weeks of the season, but kind of has been, his production's been a little, he's been lacking a little bit, and that's Umar Ballo. AJ, I just wanted to ask you, what have you thought about his play recently, and what do you think he kind of needs to do to get back on track?
Yeah, I don't think that he's really off track, to be honest, man. I think that, he's still being aggressive and playing well. Against teams are doubling him now. That's what's happening is that, and that's what happens when you're a good player and you're kind of moving from one role into the other. You have to adjust to that. And, people were playing him straight up, most of the season, and he dominated every single matchup that if you leave him one-on-one, he's going to find a way to score or get fouled and get to the free throw line. So you saw it a lot in the USC game. They were doubling him right away every time he got the ball, and he was being patient. He was making good reads, finding guys cutting to the basket, and doing what he's supposed to do as a teammate. That's what you want when you're a big man, is you draw that double and then find your first open guy. And he did a great job of that. He hit a few different guys cutting to the basket or back doors, for easy lay-ins and points for us. So I think that's part of it. It's just his opportunities have gone down a little bit, but he's still playing hard. He's still rebounding the ball well. He's playing well on defense. And so, it's just going to be an adjustment for him, but it's not like he's forcing things. He's doing what he needs to do within the offense to keep us successful on that end of the court. So, I give Umar a lot of credit. It's just something that he's going to have to learn to get better at, and he's doing a good job of it right now.
Yeah, two things that you mentioned I think are big factors, and are very, kind of things that he's had to adjust. In the beginning of the season, he was really just a total breakout player. Nobody really knew that he even had this level of offense ability. So like you
Yeah.
said, they're double teaming him now, and he might not be used to it. Now he's getting more. He's getting more comfortable there. But another thing you mentioned is he's not really even he's not trying to score as much as he used to, but I think they need to try to feed it in to him more, to get this team, back to kind of the offense we saw the first couple of weeks this season. But AJ, any other, final thoughts on this game against UCLA? It was a great shooting night, 54% from the field, 50% from three. What'd you think about that and anything else that stood out?
Yeah, no, against USC, I thought it was it was a really good performance for us on the road. Reminded me a little bit of, the games that we used to have. Last year against teams and, USC in particular last year, where we just went in there and played really well against them. And we had that kind of performance this time too. And, getting a split on the road is something that, you want to win both games like we talked about last weekend, but, getting a solid victory against USC where we really weren't threatened too much in that game at all, even though the score, looked a little bit closer at the end of the game. I thought that we were in control of that game the whole game. And so that's what I wanted to see from us. The defensive effort was there, getting Zoo back on track to where he looked like the old Zoo again, was a positive for us. So it was a good road victory at the end of the season where we really needed it.
Yeah, well, let's move on and talk about Arizona's game versus UCLA. It was, Saturday night at Pauley Pavilion. UCLA won by 9 points. Arizona was leading in the first half. And then in the second half, UCLA took over. But Arizona still, they still played. I thought they still played pretty well. Julius Tabellas, still another 24-10 night. 49 and 20 at the LA schools this week. And Boswell, another 14-point night. To me, the biggest thing that stuck out is, Arizona did shoot 40% from three, which is really good. But to me, they just missed a couple key shots, and they kind of just went cold. So what are your kind of overall takeaways about this game?
Well, I thought we started the game. Obviously, we started it as pretty much as well as we would have wanted. We came out the box quick. We were scoring, we were playing good defense, guys were knocking down shots. And, we did a really good job of getting out quick. That's what you want when you're playing in a hostile environment, on the road, especially against a team the caliber of UCLA. But they kind of wore us down. We didn't shoot the ball as well, like you said, in the second half. But overall, I was kind of pretty pleased with the performance. Overall, I thought our defense defense wasn't bad. We competed. If we had knocked down a few shots, like you said, timely shots, I think it would have been different in the second half. But it wasn't a loss that gave me pause or was like, oh no, like we're in trouble now. It was just it was a hard. We knew it was going to be a hard place to get a victory. UCLA senior night, those guys have wanted to win that game. Obviously, we would have liked to have it, and it would have been good for our resume. But overall, how we played, I think it's still we're in a good spot, going into the Pac-12 tournament where we're playing good basketball right now.
Yeah, and like you said, this doesn't hurt. To me, this win would have only helped Arizona. It doesn't hurt Arizona. UCLA in the new AP poll going into the conference tournament week. I mean, they're number 2, so there's no shame to losing to the second best team in the country. Arizona, as we know, that beat UCLA earlier in the season, and hopefully they'll get another chance, a third chance, next week like they did, and they beat them last year in the Pac-12 tournament. But I wanted to ask you kind of what you think in a game like this where, Kylan Boswell, Pella Larson played really good off the bench, but they played in the low 20-minute mark around, and then when guys are struggling like, Courtney and said, struggled a little bit in this game. How do you think kind of Tommy should, balance out the lineups and maybe give, a couple of those bench guys, an increased role?
Yeah, I mean, those guys have been, our anchors the entire year, though. So, Tommy's going to ride those guys even when they're going through a little bit of a cold slump or, whatever it is. It's because Courtney's been so hot. He just takes one shot to knock down and he's back on it. So, they're going to have bad shooting games sometimes. That stuff just happens. But, Colin did a hell of a job, man. Coming in, being aggressive. Looking for a shot, like we said earlier, made some really tough finishes, good moves, step backs, threes. Everything you could ask for, I was like, oh, okay, like he's got that in his bag too. Like we haven't seen that yet. So, it was just good. I think really good for him and his confidence going into the tournament. Pella's been playing hard and really playing his role really well. And I've seen, people have kind of been on him and, I think because of his preseason expectations and things like that. But, I love the way that Pella's been playing and, he's given everything that he needs to on a defensive end and he shot the ball really well, pretty much the last, streak of this season. So we're going to need those guys playing at a high level. We still haven't seen any, Adamo Ball really, and, like we've talked about earlier and the bench guys. So, it's going to be, probably riding out with this group and, hopefully, Kylan can continue to provide more offense because, I think that's when we struggle sometimes too is, when our outside shot isn't falling, he can kind of, remedy that definitely in certain situations. And then, we just got to keep going, man. This is a season that we've seen across college basketball that's pretty much a roller coaster. So, I think that I'm happy with the way that we're playing right now. I'm excited for, the Pac-12 tournament coming up and really the NCAA tournament. I think anything can happen this year. And, there's no reason why we can't be one of these teams that makes it to the Final Four this year.
Yeah, I totally agree with those statements. And just the last thought on Kylan in this game is that it seemed like when the game was getting out of reach a little bit, he was the guy who was just hitting some crazy shots and pull-ups to some pull-up threes, step backs, like you said. That guy is just unreal. But yeah, moving forward, AJ, as we know, when we're recording this, Arizona's going to be playing in 2 days. They're either going to be, they have a bye in the first round of the Pac-12 tournament. But so it's kind of unknown of who they're going to face right now. We do know they're going to face the winner of number 7 Utah, number 10 Stanford. That's going to be playing Wednesday night. Two teams that have had success against Arizona. What do you think about that? And do you think Arizona will have a better time than they did maybe earlier in the season against either of those two?
Yeah, I think, both of them got us at home, obviously, with their home crowd and, in different situations. But I think we're going to come out ready to play. And I think on a neutral court, it's going to be a different story, against either one of those teams. And especially Stanford, if we get the opportunity to play them again. Obviously, we know what we do when we come off a loss, pretty much all season long. So against the team, so I think we'll be ready to go, man. And that's what I said is I'm happy with where we're at. Even though we wanted that victory at UCLA, just the way that we're playing and the style of basketball that we're playing, I'm happy with. So I think we're going to be ready to go. Whoever we face, either Stanford or Utah in that one.
Yeah, as we know, you know, no team's crowd brings it like Arizona's does in the Pac-12
Yeah,
tournament in T-Mobile Arena. When I was there last year, it seemed like it was 80% Arizona fans
yeah,
filling that place up. So it should be a great environment for them. They have to win 2 games, as we know, to get to the championship, which would be on Saturday night, where they could see UCLA. We know how that ended last year. So AJ, I just wanted to ask you of kind of, going into the Pac-12 tournament, being a number 2 seed in the Pac-12 tournament, and it looks like they're going to be for sure a 2 to 3 seed in the March Madness, NCAA tournament. We'll wait to see that for another couple of days. But what do you think? We've talked a lot about how good of a job Tommy Lloyd's done, but just putting it in perspective, it's like they're going into the Pac-12 tournament. They're one of the favorites to win it. They won it last year. We're a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament last year. Top's going to be a top couple seed this year. I mean, just what can you say about the job that he's done?
I think he's done an excellent job, and we've talked about this too. Is like nobody really, and I think people we were spoiled a little bit this year with the season that they had because I don't think going into this season that we thought that we'd be in this position right now, with everything that we lost and D'Lo and CeeLo and DT and Ben going to the NBA and losing those type of guys and to come back in the job that all these guys have done. It's Tommy, it's the culture of the program. It's guys stepping up like Kylan and guys just really doing their job this year. This team has done a heck of a job, man. Yeah, we've had some losses where we probably should have lost, but overall in big time games, we've always come to play this year. And so that's what I wanted to see out of the guys. They've done that. Now, now it's just crunch time. Now, no games are going to be easy, obviously, the rest of the way out. And we're going to be ready to go. But I think they've had a heck of a season, man. I don't think we could ask for anything more. They have an opportunity in this college basketball season to go pretty a long way. So it's not over yet. We got a lot of basketball left, but overall, the job that Tommy's done in his second year, really keeping these guys together and really the culture of the program continuing to build that is something special that I think our fans should really value.
Yeah, and AJ, last on the Pac-12 tournament, especially, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think how far do you think Arizona is going to go, and who do you think they're going to beat or lose to, in their final game in Vegas?
Yeah, I think we win the first 2 games. I'd see us doing that. Like you said, it's kind of like a home atmosphere for us out there. Guys are usually ready to play, when we go to Vegas, and so we play well there. And I think we get through those first 2 games. I think UCLA does the same thing, on their side, and we see them again, on Saturday night. And then it's a toss up, man. Really goes to, and I think in the 2 matchups that we've seen, it goes to which team shoots the ball better, who can kind of dictate their style a little bit more. But I think to us, it's how we shoot the ball. When we shoot the ball at a high clip, especially from the 3 point line, I think we have a good chance to win. If they're able to kind of stifle our 3 point shooting and force us into some tough shots there, where we have a tough shooting night, then I think it goes their way. But I'm ready for it. I want that. I want that matchup again. That would be us coming off a loss to a team and seeing how we respond again. So every time this year that's happened, we've done that, and I hope that we get to there on Saturday night. What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% think Arizona gets to the Pac-12 championship game as you do. I just think they're, like we've been saying all year, it's Arizona and UCLA. And I really think they're neck and neck. I mean, obviously the rankings might list UCLA at 2 and Arizona it's 8 right now. But I mean, I think they're really close. And, with that crowd, I mean, a thing that, we didn't mention a ton, but that UCLA crowd was great on
Yeah,
Saturday night.
yeah,
Pauley sold out Pauley Pavilion. They have great, fans, crowds. But like I said, I mean, the arena, the crowd's going to favor Arizona if that game does happen on Saturday night, and if it does, I mean, I think Arizona wins it. They've shown that there's no team that can win big games and does it more than Arizona this season in all of college basketball. So I think they take it home,
Yep.
and they'll probably be a number 2 seed in the West if they would do that. But AJ, before we go today, the Pac-12 all conference awards were released. Some Arizona players on the list, and to start off, Azuolas Tubelis was named a first-team All Pac-12 player along with Umar Ballo, but Tubelis is the first player to make back-to-back first-team All Pac-12 teams since Derek Williams in 2010. And there's been only 4 other players to do that, to make it back-to-back years. Some of them include Channing Frye, Jason Gardner, Damon Stoudemire, Sean Elliott, and Pete Williams.
Right.
Would you think about those 2 guys making first team? And then what do you think about Jaime Jaquez for UCLA winning Pac-12 Player of the Year when it seemed like it was Azuolas Tubelis' award for a 90% of the year?
Yeah, I think having 2 guys on the first team is great. I mean, that's the big time award. It really goes to the type of season that both of those guys have had. And I'm happy for Umar that he got it, you know what I mean? Because and as well as most improved, right? He got that as well. So I think he deserved it. Zoo, I think just those week or week and a half of kind of down games cost him, in the eyes of the voters probably, and Jaime Jaquez being on the conference champion where they won by a pretty wide margin. It's not supposed to be, I don't think a team award, but I think that, goes into people's decision making no matter what they say or do. So, I'm not mad about it because I think Jaime's played, a heck of a season. And, he's a great player. He's done it on a big stage, the past couple of years. I would have loved to see Zoo get it. But Zoo might have an opportunity next year to be that guy again. So you can't take anything away from 20 points and 9 rebounds a game and leading the conference to both scoring and rebounding, which is an incredible feat. So hats off to both of those guys. It's well deserved. And it gives them a little bit more, as far as Zoo goes, a little bit more, energy in his tank, and a little bit more fight when he goes up against UCLA the next time. I think it'll bother him a little bit, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think Zoo is the first player to lead the Pac-12 in points and rebounds, and I think over a decade. So yeah, I mean that's an incredible feat for Zoo, and Azuolas Tubelis in a senior season would just be unbelievable. Arizona would be lucky to have him back for another year. He'd be one of the best guys in the country. But some other guys from Arizona that had their name recognized where Courtney Ramey was an honorable mention for the All Pac-12 team. For the All Pac-12 freshman team, Kylan Boswell was an honorable mention, and Umar Ballo was an honorable mention for the Pac-12 All Defensive team. What are your thoughts on some of those guys being recognized?
Yeah, I think they're all well deserved. I mean, Courtney's been, probably our most consistent player, in conference play, and has really shot the ball well. He's been a leader for these guys coming in, in his first year, with Arizona. Even though he brought a ton of experience, from the University of Texas, and his time there, he's just been a really rock solid guy for us this year. So I'm happy that he got recognized. I think Kylan getting honorable mention could have been maybe higher if he had played a little bit more throughout the season, but he's just coming on late. But much, well deserved. He deserved that. He's been playing incredible basketball lately, like we've talked about all show. And then Umar, as well. I mean, all these guys, we've had a heck of a season. It's good to see those guys get recognized. I know that they don't care about individual accolades, and I know Tommy doesn't either. But when you put in the work and you show it out on the court, it's always good to receive that love. So, it's well deserved for those guys.
Yeah, I think we're going to see an Azuolas Tubelis that's determined, and I think he's going to be a man on a mission throughout these next couple of weeks of the season that, to prove to everyone he's really the best player in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
But AJ, I mean, I can't believe that March Madness is so close, and conference tournaments week is here. This is the best time of the year. This is why this sport's amazing. We also have an amazing guest on today's show. Tell everybody who we got.
Oh yes, obviously one of my favorite people of all time, as long as my favorite coaches of all time. A guy that has his handprints all over the University of Arizona program for decades, and a man who's just changed my life in immense ways. Mr. Jim Rosborough joins us next on Bear Down Ballers. Are you looking for a debit card or gift card branded with the Arizona Wildcats? Check out Fan Cards. You can show your Wildcat pride while managing your finances. Plus, set up direct deposit for chances to win tickets to Wildcats football and men's basketball games. Visit myfancard.com to learn more and use referral code BEARDOWN when you sign up. That's myfancard.com, referral code BEARDOWN. The ultimate way to support Arizona and manage your money. All right, I'd like to welcome in to Bear Down Ballers, my favorite assistant coach of all time, one of the best human beings that I've ever met in my life, a man who's had a tremendous impact on my life over all these years. Mr. Jim Rosborough joins us now on Bear Down Ballers. Coach, how are you?
Really well, AJ. How are you? Good to get together as always. And I think we were together within the last year and did this. So always fun to get together. Hope you're doing well. Kids, I see them on Facebook. They're growing up. Looks like they need somebody to kind of coach them. I don't know if that's you, AJ, but we need to get you on the ball. They're good-looking kids, AJ.
I appreciate that. They're doing really well. My older son, Dalen's playing tomorrow in the quarterfinals of the state tournament here in New Mexico.
Oh,
so, yeah, they won on the road by 1 point in the first round. So it was a big deal for them. Yeah, so everything's going
Father's
good.
Up in the stands, heart beating like crazy. It's worse than playing, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can't control anything. You know how that is.
Yeah,
it's easier when you're playing.
Yeah, no fooling. Yeah, no fooling. One other real quick thing, AJ, I have a couple, 3 girls on our Pima College women's team. Okay. And so yesterday we Googled you or whatever we did, Google or something. And one of my girls who's from up at now Gallup or somewhere up north in the state of Mexico. Oh man, we saw your picture. She was excited to see you, love La Cueva and all that kind of stuff. So you're still pretty famous, AJ.
That's awesome. Gallup played today in the state tournament. The Gallup girls won today, so she'd probably be happy about that. That's a good program. You probably got a good player right there.
Yeah, we do have a good player, good shooter.
Yeah. So I appreciate you taking the time today. We're just going to go, cover topics. One thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, which I think would be really interesting, is just your thought on the state of college basketball today and kind of the transfer portal and NIL and all these things that, weren't around, during your time, and what you feel about them now. Are they good things? Are they bad? Just kind of get your thoughts on where college basketball is, if you like it, and what your thoughts are on where the game stands right now.
One word: horrible. AJ, it absolutely appalls me as to where the game is. When you were here and the Montgomerys and the Lutz and whoever was at Oregon and all that, come on. I mean, now it's nothing but money. It's just out of sight. Kids aren't staying long. I mean, you know how it was. You were here 4 years. Your buddy was here 4 years. Luke Walton here 5 years. You got to know these people. We had a couple of people leave early, but going around and I have a friend who shall remain anonymous, but he's got no NIL money, and he's going up against teams that he can almost confirm have $1.2 million out there on the floor that the kids are being promised. AJ, I check around with people all the time, and it's not in a good state. I don't know what they're going to do. I understand the legalities of all this, and that they need to get money to the kids and everything else. But I don't know if you agree. And AJ, you don't know the players anymore. The most famous player in the country right now is Caitlin Clark at Iowa. You tell me 5 or 10 of the top men's. I mean, I can tell you the top men's programs, but who the players are, I don't know. And now this is just me personally, but I just, for having been at AJ, I think this is my 50th year. I just do not like at all where it is. And I think a lot of people are like that, but they're either not going to speak up or the lawyers come after them if they say something. I don't know. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I think, I'm on the fence with it. I think in certain situations, it's good to have players be able to have the ability to move around, one time if a coach leaves or something like that, or situation isn't good for them. But I don't think it's an even playing field right now for most stuff.
Well, no, and I agree with that, AJ. The transferring thing, I do understand. And,
Yeah.
the old thing, well, the coach leaves, goes somewhere else and you're stuck there and maybe with a new guy. I do understand the transfer thing. I think the NIL is, and I get that too. I mean, you were here and probably you and your buddy could have, the jet dude could have done some stuff together and had fun and made some extra money. I mean, I get all that, but I just think it's really, really put the game in a bad place. And I think if you asked how many Division I coaches there are, 400 and some, I think most of them would agree. It's horrible. And how about for the little guy who's out there struggling to keep his job, AJ? Yeah, it's fine for Kentucky, but how about the guy out here at Eastern Oklahoma that's struggling for his life? It's tough.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the answer is though. Also, I don't know what's the fix for it. You know what I mean? I just don't know. Yeah.
That's what that's what ADs say and conference commissioners. I mean, what is the answer? It's spiraling, and it just looks to me, AJ, like it's continuing to spiral, and where it's going to stop or what, we don't have any idea.
Yeah, well, we're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna enjoy March Madness until we get to that point, man. It's something we can do something about it. But okay, so here's a question for you. Besides, I would say probably the 2001 team that went all the way to the championship, what teams over the years do you think had the best chance to make the Final Four that didn't in all your times at Arizona?
At Arizona?
Yep.
Well, I mean, now early on, when Brian Williams was here, we had Brian Williams, Chris Mills, we had Stokes, I think Rooks, Othick, Muehlbach, and maybe right after that, Clinton Damon. Now, Clinton Damon did get to a Final Four, but that one with Chris Mills and Brian Williams and Rooks, holy smokes, that was a loaded team. And I think that's the Santa Clara game that knocked us out against Steve Nash and so on. Now, that was really disappointing. I think one of the real disappointing games you were around was in '98 when we got knocked out by Utah. I mean, I think clearly we were the best team in the country and won how many 30 some games, AJ. That was really disappointing. You get in over 2000 and all those, maybe I can't remember your exact year of leaving, but we weren't quite as loaded as we were earlier.
That was 99, 2001.
Great team. I think everybody agrees we got hosed by the referees in 2001, and I don't mind saying it. And there might have been another team or two. I mean, Damon and Clid were pretty good, and they got to one Final Four. Maybe there could have been a situation to get to a couple. But, the interesting thing on that is, AJ, and you know this well, it was talked about every year here, though. It wasn't as though any year you weren't expected or hoping or felt you had a good chance to get to the Final Four. I think that was really, really important for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's championship expectations every single year, no matter what. So that was fun. I mean, that was a part of being at Arizona. That's why you went to Arizona, just because, it was one of the main reasons why is that we were competing at that level every single year, no matter what.
Yeah, well, and you think back, and if you took time and look at all the good programs you played against, I don't know if you played against Duke, but I mean, we played everybody. We flew in and played at Michigan State. The Pac-12 or 10 at the time was loaded. I mean, up and down, it was loaded. I don't know if it's as good these days, to be honest with you, top to bottom. But you were involved in some of the Stanford games, and those were big. They were the best in the country, AJ. When we went up there to play, or they came to our place to play, those were big time games.
You remember we played Duke in the finals of the Maui Classic the year after we won the championship. And Wojo was out there running around, sliding all over the place. Still mad about that damn game. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, the point is, you guys, and even my wife agrees. When we showed up, Madison Square Garden or anything else, AJ, it was like the Rolling Stones times 10. It was big time basketball. Everybody was there. The Vitals, it was a rock and roll traveling, as one of the managers dubbed it, traveling circus. But it was big time, and it was a lot of fun for you guys. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Oh yeah, that was I told you, my first month of college basketball. We ran through the preseason NIT and got to played at Arkansas and beat them, and then played Michigan in the semifinals of Madison Square Garden, and then against AI and Georgetown in the final. And I was looking around like, man, I made the right decision on this one.
Yeah.
We go to
Yeah.
Tavern on the Green to eat when we were out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Doing all that.
Don't do McDonald's or anything else,
That's
but we
right.
were going to the best places around. And that was mainly because our head coach liked to eat at good places.
That's
So
right.
and stay at good places too, AJ. We weren't staying in any dives, I'll tell you that.
That's right. It was first class all the way.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, you've, coached over 50 All-Americans, all conference and future NBA players, during your time when you were at Arizona. What were some of the similar traits all these guys had? You know what I mean? And did you think that they came, to Arizona with those traits, or was that something that was developed? I know it was developed, partially by the program, but did you see certain things, guys, when you were recruiting that it turned out like, hey, this guy has it? And, what were those things that you saw in some of those guys?
Well, a couple interesting things. Not one exactly what you're saying, but we had some transfers, AJ. The
Yeah.
Brian Williams, the Chris Mills, and there's probably a couple others in there. And here's what I really liked about those guys. People wondered about Chris Mills. Was he hard to coach? No, he was as easy as any guy I ever coached because he knew he was at the last chance. Same with Brian Williams, Bison Dele, last chance. So what those guys, and I think you would agree, and you probably noticed it the first day you got on the court in pickup games, guys were tough here. And that was probably one of the traits. I mean, I know when we were out recruiting, we weren't looking for guys that wanted to fight, but we were looking for guys that would stick their nose in there. You personally get on the glass, run the floor, all those things that we liked. But we looked for tough kids too. I mean, I can remember crazy little Jason Gardner. I went to see him at one of those summer AAU tournaments, and the son of a gun was in a tight game and he wasn't going to lose. And he was out there grabbing his teammates by their jersey and saying, "Come on, man, let's go." Those weren't his exact words, AJ. They were similar. But we looked for toughness, and I think you would agree. You needed to be willing to stick your nose in here. Now we had good kids, we had gentlemen, and so on, and off the court. Got to school with for most of the time, I think, but we wanted tough kids that were willing to compete and step up and take big shots and fit into the program. And they didn't necessarily have to be these first and second team McDonald's All-Americans. I mean, I always quote this. Well, I guess it would be true in your case as well. You were a great high school player in the state of New Mexico, but look at Luke Walton. Luke Walton was no All-American everywhere in the world, and look at what happened to him. So, guys got developed here. There was a culture of toughness and competing and playing hard, I think, most of the time. So we brought in tough kids. We have some transfers that knew this was the last chance, that were tough. I got time for one quick one. Casey Schmidt came in. Casey's a good young man and so on, but they wanted to test him. And so Chris Mills said to Brian Williams, "Okay, he's going to be guarding me. I'm going to bring him on the baseline. You set a screen and see if you can knock his head off." Pow! I mean, but they wanted to test you. And probably when you got in your first pickup game out there too, it was probably the same thing. Had to be tough.
I had more than my share of Ben Davis and just Joseph Blair elbows to the chest.
Yeah, try those guys. Now let somebody try them. Kim, my wife, will always say, "Man, why aren't you making those layups underneath?" Well, if you got Joseph Blair, Ben Davis, AJ Bramlett, a few other guys leaning on you, it's not so easy. I'll tell you that right now.
That's right. That's right. All right. So I'm going to ask you this. What was your favorite memory or memories about the Australia trip after we won the championship in '97? What do you remember? What do you remember about that trip?
Well, now I think, AJ, I'm not certain on that. I think I went to one before. In the '97 one, I had to stay home to get ready for camp. Now, what I remember, I went to the one before that. Okay. The '97 one, the first thing was it was too long. Everybody was going nuts. Finally, I think all y'all went into coach's room at the hotel and said, "This is too much, too long." "Oh, well, I'll get you guys better rings and everything. We got to get through this." I was getting calls. Probably you were in the room, but I think Jason Terry was calling you. Or "Coach, you got to help us get home. We want to get out of here." I mean, I know y'all had fun and all that kind of stuff, but that particular one, I was here running camp. I don't know if that was the one where you were in the casino and the big brawl erupted. I don't know if that was
the casino West. Yeah, that was the casino West.
Well, I heard about all that, and one of our little managers is crawling under the tables to get out, and so on. I mean, I know you had a lot of fun.
Wrong. It's because you weren't there. I forgot that you weren't even on that trip. I forgot that.
Yeah, Yeah, that's why I don't have every single memory. But the one we went on before was really fun. I mean, it is a little bit relaxed. You're trying to win the games and all that kind of stuff. But in the evenings, nobody was doing bed checks, and I think people probably got out and walked around the block carefully. And if there was a casino or something, got there. They were good trips. But I would agree with you. The second one was pretty long, 21 days, I think, AJ.
Yeah, we were burnt out, man. It was just
Yeah.
after the championship, and
Yeah.
looking back on it now, I wish we probably would have done more things and enjoyed it a little bit
Yeah.
more when you get older. When you're 21, 19, 20, you're trying to get home to your home and spend some time with
Yeah.
your family. It's a little
Yeah,
bit
of
different,
course.
but it's still
Yeah.
fun. It's still fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was your trip with Damon and those guys? Was that their year, or Joseph and Damon? And,
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But
Yeah.
it was before that one. And I mean, we had a good time. Went coast to coast, Perth to the other side, and really had a good time. Kim was along, and it was a really good trip. We met a guy that became a kind of a lifelong friend, Colin Donovan, that helped us with people down there. He recommended people. We didn't always get them, but so we had a good trip, and it was good with the adults, with Coach and Bobby and everything. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of good memories from all those times, man, for all of us. So, talk to me, about your thoughts on this year's team and what they've done, because, I think that, they've had a heck of a season for what, the season that they had last year, the guys that they lost, to the NBA last year, and to come back and have the season that they've had so far, I think has been pretty special. Can you talk about, what you think of the team and kind of what you see in them to be able to make a long run this year in the tournament?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. People don't understand they do understand what was lost. I mean, you're talking about 3 guys that were drafted into the pros, and that's top 56 guys really in the world that went into the pros. And I thought one of the undersung kids on the team a year ago was Dalen Terry. Now, Matherin obviously was, create and hit big shots and all the stuff he did, Coloco basket protector and so on, second only to you in Arizona history. But they lost a lot. And then to come back as they have, I mean, the record speaks for itself. You don't win 25 games or whatever they have if you're not doing some things. I think right now, I watched the game against UCLA the other night, and maybe you did too. I mean, it was a good basketball game, but now that's what's going to happen. Maybe not the first round, but second, and as far as you go, it's going to be out there. It's going to be physical. It's going to be tough. Everybody's got to contribute. I mentioned this to somebody today, and it's not necessarily criticism, but Umar, I thought, at least in the little things you could see on TV, maybe looked tired, maybe looked a little bit frustrated. I don't know. They need both the big guys to play, and then everybody needs to do their job. They got really good bench production the other day, I think 24-25. Carissa, if he can stay in the 13 to 15 range and take care of the ball and get several assists. But I would agree with you for what was lost, and to come back with the record they have. And you know this too, AJ. Arizona walks into a gym and it's the biggest game of the year. People want to beat you, and they're taking aim at you, even more so now than Duke, I would think. Yeah. So I think they've done, I really like Tommy. I think I've told you that before. I think he's a brilliant mind on basketball, and then he gets it transferred over to the court. I think they've had really, really a good season. Now, again, a lot, depends on the draw. They get in the tournament, and you don't want to run into Houston in the second round, because they're going to get out there and beat the heck out of you and so on. But I think if they can play their tempo, everybody can contribute, do their job, and it doesn't have to be 40 a game, but do your job. You've heard that a million times.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a chance to make a decent run. But it's hard. You know that. It's hard. It takes luck. It takes everything going your way, period.
I was talking to Ryan about this earlier. Do you think with Umar that it's an adjustment kind of period for him? Because, when you're in a different role like he was in last year, and then as hot as he started off this year, he was getting a lot of single coverage. And now, he's seeing doubles and guys, trying to put more pressure on him. Take some time, to adjust as a player when that starts happening to you. I think.
No, I would agree. And I didn't, I'm not studying their tape. I got plenty of my own tape.
Yeah.
We got a big playoff game here tomorrow night, AJ. Fly in if you want to see some good hoop. But yeah, I think that's probably true. They're doing something to get him out of the mix a little bit. And maybe he's tired too, because it is, AJ, you said it. It's a whole different role for him this year. last year he could come in and play whatever minutes and didn't have all the pressure of being a starter and scoring and so on. And maybe that's bothered. I don't know that. It's not a criticism, but he's a young kid and really had just got thrown into this role this year and had, I think he was player of the week a time or two and a whole lot of stuff. So, but I think Tommy's smart. They'll get in and do a decent job in the tournament and then get rested up and get ready to go. He's a smart coach.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job, man. And I just like the guys on the team are similar to, personality wise to our teams. I feel like, which is nice to see.
I would agree. And they've been very open in letting me come in. And Murph is down there shooting on. If he sees me walking, come on down, watch film, and with the team. So it's been kind of fun to get to know those guys just a little bit. And I would agree with you, all good kids.
Good. I'd love to hear that. All right, before I get out of here, you mentioned it a little bit. You got a big playoff game, coming up tomorrow night. Talk about your time at Pima, what that's meant to you, and the experiences that you've had there, because you've been doing a heck of a job now, for many years. Talk about your teams there and what you got coming up your season this year, and then your game tomorrow night.
Well, it's really been fun, AJ. I think I've been there 8 or 9 years now, and we've won games, which is always fun, always nice. We've got same thing as with you guys. We brought in good young ladies that want to play hard. They listen. I'm often asked, what would you rather coach, men or women? You know what I say? Women by a mile. We had all you knuckleheads around. No, I kiddingly say that, but we've had really, really good people. I think we've been to 4 or 5 national tournaments, and we have a shot this weekend. Now we play tomorrow night, a team that we beat twice in the season. Tournament play is way different, as you know. And then if we do win that one, more than likely we'll run into our big nemesis, Mesa. And I think maybe 11 years in a row, it's been Pima versus Mesa to go to the national tournament. And they beat us twice this year. I think we're better now, but they beat us twice. So we have our hands full, but we are at home, AJ, and that should be. And Peabody had really a full. You've been out to Pima. He had a full house tonight, and I think tomorrow we'll have a really, really good crowd in our favor. But AJ, the point is probably a couple things. I'm older now. I hate to say it, but I love coaching the girls, and I find myself still able to relate to them and have fun, change up stuff on drills, make it fun for them, read my Rolling Stone magazine so I understand their music, which is basically horrible. So, but it's been honestly kind of a lifesaver, AJ, the last 8 years. I kind of dread the time within another year or two when I probably physically just won't be able to do it. I really do dread that, but I really like the guy I work with, Todd Holdhouse. I've known him a long time. In fact, he might have been down with Joan Bonvicini when you were here, or maybe overlap. So we got a really good situation, and we are winning, which is nice. We got girls that we respond, and so I've really, really enjoyed it a great deal.
Good. Well, you know what? I'm going to let you go so you can get some late night film in for the game tomorrow. I really appreciate you always taking the time to come on with me, Coach. Your insight, is second to none in everything, to do with basketball and life. And just thank you again for everything you've done for me. Please tell, Kim and the boys hello from us. And
same to you.
Let's see you in the national tournament.
Yeah, appreciate it very much. You're the best,
All right,
appreciate it anytime, AJ. Call.
Much love. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you, man.